o'clock. Now, if you watched our coverage throughout the afternoon, kept saying, hey, the ETA into Greater Cleveland is right around 9:30, and these cells have basically performed in the way that we expected them to. So when we look inside this storm, we look at our velocity product. This looks pretty messy. What we're looking for are reds and greens close together. I don't see a ton of that, but you can still see where we've got some strong winds here moving into portions of Lorain County. A little too tight there. There's the town of Wakeman. There's 60. There's Townsend. And again, the leading edge of this line of rain and storm activity, that's where we're going to get not only the strongest winds, but also that rotation at the leading edge of these storms there moving through. Rotation now, as we said, moving into the Wakeman area. So there we do have a little bit of spin. There's green and red, just a little bit, a hint of it. We're not talking about anything super tight, but you can see Wakeman. If you live in Wakeman, especially north of Wakeman along Route 60, you definitely want to get to your safe spot right now. Wakeman, south and west of Cleveland there. There's 20, there's 60, there's Wakeman, just to the north of Wakeman there. That's where we're seeing that rotation moving in. It's also really important to point out that this cell or this line of storms has had a history of not only producing potential tornadoes, but also, I think in many cases, more importantly, causing damage. We've had structural damage throughout areas there off to our west, out towards the Oak Harbor area, out towards the Findlay area, through Erie County, through Huron County as well, from this particular storm. We're going to send it into the weather office to meteorologist Samantha Roberts. Sam, you and I have been watching. We've been waiting. We knew we were going to go on the air here most likely. Happened just like that. We were ready for it. And, with this particular cell, it's not necessarily one distinct area. You can kind of see how we have some jagged edges there, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's little tiny ripples all over the leading edge of this thunderstorm, and anywhere in there, if there's not rotation now, there could be over the course of the next several minutes. Right now, again, we are monitoring that rotation coming into Wakeman. One of the things with these storms is that they are absolutely flying. I mean, this storm is moving at 50 miles an hour. I'm watching it on multiple radar sites. We've got discrete or kind of isolated storms out ahead of it, and I just got a report actually from Huron County Emergency Management, so thank you guys for that. Townsend Fire, that's in the Collins area. When I zoomed in really tight and I was trying to get right to the west of Wakeman, that's where we're seeing that rotation reported in the Collins area. So I'm going to zoom back into Huron County because, again, that's where that rotation is right now. And basically just off to the immediate west of Wakeman is where we're monitoring that rotation, and we do have signs of it. I'm not sure if maybe somebody out there saw a rotating funnel cloud, or maybe they saw some type of rotating wall cloud, but either way, we don't have an actual tornado reported, Jason. It's still radar indicated, but if emergency management out there is seeing rotation in the clouds, then this is something that people in the area need to take seriously. So if you're in Wakeman, Florence, if you're out ahead of this in Oberlin, we would ask that you seek shelter because with the 50-mile-an-hour storm motion, this is going to sneak up on you.
Yeah, also we have a live camera in Oberlin, Sam. At some point, maybe we call that upper control room because we do have access to that, and that sometimes can give us an idea of what's going on. I mean, this is Oberlin right here. It's right in the path of this storm. South Amherst, Oberlin, even LaGrange. Remember, this storm is hauling 50, 60 miles per hour. Florence, you got to get to your safe spot right now. And again, the good news is the storm is moving fast enough to where it'll be over pretty quick. But again, the best idea is to get to the lowest point of your home. Remember, put as many walls between you and the storm as possible. Get away from windows. Windows can be broken by flying debris. It doesn't have anything to do with pressure or anything like that. It's debris flying outside, hitting a window. So a lot of times when we're under severe weather or tornado warning, first thing you do is go, let me go to the window and look out. Don't do that. I know it's tempting, and obviously everybody's got one of these. Do not go out and try to get video of this thing. By the way, the sun is setting. There's a lot of rain in this too. And as I said, it's along the leading edge of a deluge of rain. It's not one of those supercell tornadoes that we see online out in Tornado Alley where the sun's perfectly in front of you and or behind you and you can see it. This is completely different. So again, if you're underneath one of those warnings, take it seriously. The best idea would be just to turn up your audio, get to your safe spot. We're streaming. So if you lose satellite, If you lose power, as long as you have your devices charged, which is, by the way, we mentioned that earlier in our newscast, have those devices charged, especially on an alert day, and just turn up the audio. You're looking live right now. This is our Oberlin camera looking off to the west, and certainly an ominous look. I don't see anything that would necessarily lead me to say we have a tornado out there, but again, as I mentioned, if there is any rotation and there is a funnel, it's in the rain. It's embedded in the rain. So the rain is going to, and even hail, most likely, the rain is going to obscure any viewing of a potential funnel. Now, if you're there and it's raining, you can probably, sometimes law enforcement have a better idea or a better angle, but again, very difficult to see anything. That's why I mentioned just, get to your safe spot. That's the best bet. Sam, if we could switch velocities, I'm not sure if this is velocity or SRV, switch the other one and see if we have a little bit of a better view. There's the town of Oberlin. There's Pittsfield as well. This is 303 LaGrange. There's Henrietta. There's Florence. And again, we're watching for the leading edge of this to look for some spin. And we have some notches, and sometimes with those notches, that's where you have just enough inflow from out ahead of the storm for rotation to begin. And that can sometimes get down to ground level, and that's why the Weather Service, I think, they allowed the storm to no longer be warned for a tornado when it was off into Seneca County. And actually, we have a chat all night with the Weather Service, and I chimed in and I said, "Hey, what are we thinking about Erie and Huron counties?" And they said, "Well, not yet." And then, bam, there you go with the tornado warning. So right there, you see a little bit. Okay, this is Kipton, between Kipton and Henrietta. You have a little notch right there that could be producing rotation or a spin. Sam, let's take a look at our correlation product, which is our debris tracker. And sometimes we can look at that and also see some things that are interesting. Well, in this particular case, it's a lot of wind. What this basically is showing us, now they've trimmed that back down. Did they add Cuyahoga to it, Sam?
Not just yet. Not just yet. It looks
We're
like
waiting
right
for
up
that to
against
happen.
the
Yeah,
line.
I think they probably will. I wouldn't see why they wouldn't. And unfortunately, that's heading right to the airport. Yikes, you don't like to see that. All right, so what we're looking at right now is something called our debris tracker. And we look at all this basically maroon color, that is rain, that's heavy rain. So what we look at, especially along the leading edge here, anything that sticks out that isn't necessarily just rain. It differentiates between rain and other objects. Yeah, rotation moving into Kipton right now. So where is Kipton on this map? Help me out, I don't see it. We have Florence. All right, move the map around. There's Wakeman. There's Kipton right there. So you can see we've got a little bit of that different color right there. That could be, not saying it is, that could be debris on the ground getting at least like tossed up and twirled in the air. It could be leaves, it could be branches, it could be a little bit of dirt. Anything that's not uniform. So we know this is all rain. It could be a little hail, but most likely it's some stuff that's just getting tossed up. It could be sometimes in cases we've been on the air, it could be parts of homes too. We hope that's not the case, but when you see something like that near a town, you start thinking, well, hey, what do we have going on here? It's most likely not, dirt. Kipton, yeah, lowest point of your home. Very good advice there. Lowest point of your home. If you don't have a basement, what do? I don't have a basement, Jason. What am I supposed to do? Well, that's when, first of all, get away from windows and get to the center of your home. The most structurally sound part of your home. You probably know what it is. It could be a closet. It could be an interior bathroom. And take cover. Cover your head. Some people, put pillows or a mattress and they lay in the bathtub. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that because, again, it's not going to last long, and you'd rather be safe than sorry if indeed something were to happen to your home. So that inner portion of your home, if you have a basement, obviously that's where you should go, the middle part of your basement. And again, the most important thing is to not go outside and stay away from windows. So there you go, a little bit on our debris tracker right there near the Kipton area. That's 511, that's 20 there. So Wakeman, your dangerous pass, you're still getting pounded with rain and wind, but as far as the tornadic part of this storm, it's basically now passed. Harder to see on the velocity, Sam, right? That's why that debris tracker is so critical for us. And again, this whole line could be spinning up, even up towards the Florence area, South Amherst, Oberlin. Again, Oberlin's a place where we got a lot of people that live there. So get to your safe spot right now. It's not raining yet, but the rain's coming in, heavy rain. We probably have some pea-sized hail also embedded here. There's Florence to Wakeman. And just off to the west of LaGrange. And look at all the stuff out ahead of this. Now, I'll tell you what, sometimes what happens is This could actually do enough to kind of zap the atmosphere to where when this comes in, it loses its steam. However, if this line catches up to one of these, it could do some funky things. It could start spinning. It could, spit out a bunch of hail. So again, it all depends on how quickly this back edge overtakes the cells out ahead of it. It's interesting to think about too, Sam. Earlier we were on the air for that tornado warning for Portage County. Is that thing still spinning west of Pittsburgh?
It's still going.
Still there it is. My goodness.
All out by itself,
Yeah.
like you just mentioned, that's sometimes the most dangerous type of storm. There's nothing impeding it. That's the storm that moved through Portage County. It actually started as like this little blip on the radar right out in Erie County. Another live look, Jason, out in Oberlin.
Yeah, I really want to stay on this shot because we're going to see conditions in Oberlin go downhill really fast. And we've got the information there at the bottom of your screen. Erie, Huron, and Lorain counties, tornado warning. So if you're in Oberlin, if you're in Pittsfield, if you're in Kipton, if you're in Florence, if you're in Carlisle, if you're in LaGrange, take shelter now. Soon, Lorain and Elyria as well. North Ridgeville, potentially, as well. North Ridgeville, a huge suburb of Cleveland. A lot of people have moved out there over the years. Maybe some people have perhaps recently moved there or recently, moved out to that area that aren't familiar with what to do during severe weather. So again, get to your lowest point of your home, get to your safe spot. Even in the future here, Avon, Eaton as well. And as I mentioned, Elyria kind of right in the center of this. But this is a live look right now. Our Oberlin tower camera, First Alert camera network there in Oberlin. And you can, again, see what I'm talking about. You're not going to see it. Now, the only thing you can look at is if you're a weather spotter here, or if you're out there, as I look at this, I look at the motion, the motion of the clouds at the base of the clouds. Is there any spin? I don't see a ton. That's what you look for. You look for rotation within the bottom of those clouds. Obviously, you can't see much beyond that because it's all rain. There could even be some hail in there. A lot of thunder, and you're seeing that tower camera shake. Look at the trees. Watch how the trees move, the tops of those trees. If they start funneling in one direction, you have rotation. But they're kind of just blowing around in different directions. Or if they start laying down flat, you've got very strong winds too. Sometimes that's a sign of something we called a downburst or a microburst. I'm not seeing that either. And I'm looking at the base of those clouds. We're not seeing much in the way of any spin. So this would lead me to think that we're looking at very strong straight line winds from just based on that camera. That camera is really important. Again, our goal here is to have as many cameras across northern Ohio to give you views like this. And when we get severe weather off to the west, it's really helpful. Looks like the worst of that wind, Sam, is north and west of Oberlin. Right along north of 511, west of 58, right? We can come back to our maps now. What's that? Okay, well, when we can call that Avon camera up, we can do that. Control room or Sam. Oh, there we go. Is that our Crushers cam?
Oh, wow, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's our Crushers cam. So basically what that is, I believe that's I-90 right there. That's looking off basically to the south and west of Avon towards those storms coming in. So again, remember our goal here is to give you, we have the radar, we have the meteorological expertise here, but we also like to show you what it looks like out there. And that's I-90. I mean, you've got folks there that are driving through the state, have no idea what's going on. They're not, they don't have the First Alert weather app necessarily, so they have no clue what's happening. Look at all the heavy rain there about to hit Avon, and a lot of wind too. So needless to say, if the Crushers were playing it, I don't believe they were. They're not now. That's right, right off of Interstate 90 there in Avon. That's about to get pounded. And interestingly enough, Sam, that's pretty far out ahead. That's one of those cells out ahead of the main line, right?
Yeah, it is. I'm going to switch over on our radar to our reflectivity product, and we can keep the camera up if you guys would like. I mean, it really tells such a compelling story. That's the storm.
Yeah, that's out ahead of it.
Yeah, it's producing a tremendous amount of rainfall. I actually just got a message a few minutes ago from a friend in Avon Lake who said that the outdoor warning sirens, as we call them, or tornado sirens, were going off. They're not going off now. I mean, it's a good thing that they were, though, because they are included in the tornado warning. Yeah. So best to be in your safe spot, obviously, in Avon and Avon Lake. But that heavy rain you're seeing right now, that's not coming from the tornado warned cell. it's coming from those little discrete popcorn storms that popped up out ahead of it.
Well, you know, here's we're going to have localized flooding here. We're probably going to deal with a flash flood warning for Lorain and Cuyahoga, I would imagine, Sam. There's so much water out there, and basically waterlogged atmosphere, and these cells they're moving. The only good part is they're moving kind of quick, so that may limit the flash flooding, but we're gonna get some high water issues. So that's another component here with this severe weather. Yeah, we'll talk about the tornado warning. We've been doing that, but also heavy rains and localized flooding, flash flooding in some cases. Turn around, don't drown. It's still daylight here, 8:45. Don't take a chance there. You definitely don't want to risk that. So it appears that our warning has been trimmed down, Sam. Am I correct there?
Yeah, it's only now Lorain County. So if you were in your safe spot out in Erie County or in Huron County, you can come on out now. If you had the volume up, maybe you were listening to us, it's okay to come out now because that's moved into Lorain County.
Yeah, this is now a control room for the lower third. It's just a Lorain County tornado warning. Want to make sure we get that so folks at home know. And again, we're on the air here, 8:45. Chief Meteorologist Jason Nicholas along with meteorologist Sam Robertson. This is not a surprise to us because this thing was spinning up a tornado outside of the 19 News viewing area, and we were waiting for it to be warned for us, and it happened pretty quickly here a little while ago. We were on our weather show tracking that cell, and now it's moved here into Lorain County. And as I mentioned, it's moving fast. So Cuyahoga County up next. So I'm not saying take shelter yet, but if you're in the Westlake area, if you're in Berea, if you're in Rocky River, if you're in Parma, if you're in Strongsville, it's a good idea to at least think about getting to your safe spot. What I want to do with Sam's help here, we're putting up the ETAs to when the leading edge of this storm is going to get here. Now, it's going to be a little tricky because we're going to get rain out ahead of it, okay? That's the rain we're seeing in Avon right now. But the part of the storm that's the most intense as far as wind goes and as far as rotation goes is the second part of it. Now, there is a possibility that these first few storms maybe zap a little energy from it, take a little fuel. That would be good. But again, this stuff does not seem to want to weaken all that quickly. So Elyria here in the next 5 minutes or so. Westlake then a little after 9. Greater Cleveland about quarter after. Euclid 9:30, Mentor 9:45. So if they were to issue a tornado warning, Sam, for Cuyahoga, it would be likely until 9:30. I think that would probably work with that. And I'm sure our friends at the Weather Service are discussing that right now because, you know, tornado warnings are tornado warnings, but when you issue a tornado warning for Cuyahoga County, they take those really seriously because so many cities, so many folks are impacted by that they don't want to issue one just to issue one on that. Not saying they do for other counties, but that's one in particular that you want to make sure about. Now, the good news is all this rain and thunder, it's moving toward the airport, the radar. So the data is going to get pretty good. Now, eventually it gets so close to the radar, we actually lose it. Kind of the cone of silence, we call it. But then eventually it emerges. Now, it's interesting, the sirens are going off in Brook Park. Shouldn't be yet, unless they know something we don't know. Now, that's a possibility that this tornado warning is extended to Brook Park, to the airport, to Berea. I'll tell you what, also, flights, Jeff, might want to look at those too, because planes are not going to land in this. The only thing they can do is they can try to come around from the south or from the east. Take it off, they probably can't take off either. Now, a lot more planes are landing at this time at Hopkins. Tons of planes are landing this time at Hopkins of the evening. Not as many are taking off. This isn't the morning, this is the evening, but any planes coming in. Now, if a plane's coming in from New York, it's doing much better. Chicago, if you're waiting on family and friends from Chicago, from Denver, from Houston, you might have to wait a little bit longer because planes are going to have a real hard time getting into the airport, and they don't even want the ground crew out there directing the planes if there's thunder as well. So a lot goes into that. But perhaps flights coming in from the east, New York or Charlotte, Philly, D.C., might be doing a little bit better there. But again, what's that? We're seeing some delays right now. I would imagine so. Yeah, going to be really tough at Hopkins over the next hour. This is probably not going to get better at Hopkins Airport till probably 9:30, quarter to 10. Maybe a little sooner than that, but we're moving 50 miles an hour here. So Just to recap here, we've got the one warning for Lorain County for a tornado. I think Elyria, Sam, not good. You want to get to your safe spot in Elyria. There's no question here. I hate seeing storms like this along the turnpike or anything where people are kind of traveling through the state where they're not necessarily aware of what's going on and they're just driving. And you hate to see that, but if you have any family or friends that are going to be on the turnpike here or even I-90, give them a call and say, hey, you might want to wait this out. Yikes, look at this, a live picture again. So this is our Avon camera.
Wow.
And yeah, wow. Well, the rain that we just saw has moved through, so we're getting that little break. So what do you see there in the distance? Again, your eyes are drawn to kind of that, see the house there in the distance right to the right of the S in breaking news. So you see all that kind of, you know, that grayish area, that's heavy rain, most likely, and some hail. Now we don't, yeah, obviously a lot of lightning. Now we don't see anything that's dropping down from the bottom of the clouds that would concern me about a funnel or a tornado, at least at this point. Look at the base of the clouds, look for rotation, all that stuff. Again, not seeing a ton of that yet, but that is right there. That is the leading edge of those storms coming in from the south and from the west. We also, obviously, as I said earlier, we look at the treetops. We look to see what they're doing. Not too much wind there. That's just basically south of Interstate 90 there in Avon as this storm is moving towards you, and it's moving right towards us. Now, it's interesting to point out wind gusts. We just had a report out at Lorain County Regional Airport of an 81 mile per hour wind gust. Wow, that is hurricane force strength. And I think that's the top one we've seen so far, Sam, right?
Yeah, that's the biggest one. They've just pushed out the Weather Service that they are going to continue this for Lorain County until 9. No mention yet of Cuyahoga County. I mean, you can only assume it's going to be extended. I really don't like what I'm seeing on radar. As we zoom out here,
Yeah.
Obviously you see the colors getting a little more vibrant as we start to get closer to that radar. But, you know, we so often get caught up on the word tornado. An 80-mile-an-hour wind gust or an 81-mile-per-hour wind gust can do just as much damage as a weak tornado, especially if you live in a mobile home. So I would encourage anybody out ahead of this, maybe in a mobile home or some other type of similar structure, please, if you can, and if you have the time, like if you're out in Cuyahoga County preparing for this, please head to a substantial shelter, because I do not like that report of an 81-mile-per-hour gust. That could totally destroy a manufactured home.
Yeah, and we'll see. The Weather Service may issue one of those rare destructive severe thunderstorm warnings on this. And I'm surprised they haven't with evidence of an 81 mile per hour gust in this storm. They may do that. Maybe they're seeing that now and they're writing it up as we speak. It's a possibility. But you brought up such a good point. An 80 mile an hour wind gust, remember, that's affecting most likely a larger area too. Remember, a tornado warning is a singular small space. Now, it could be on the ground for a little bit, but typically the tornadoes we get don't stay on the ground that long. So in many cases, that gust, even if it's 70 to 80 miles an hour, in many cases will do more damage than a weak F0 or an F1 tornado that maybe pops down for 30 seconds and is on the ground just for a few hundred feet. So, you know, while we emphasize the tornado warning, and for good reason, in cases like tonight where these winds are so strong and we have evidence of an 81 mile an hour gust in Lorain County, that is, you know, that really puts it into a whole new perspective as far as the danger of this particular line right now making its way into a very populated area. I mean, we're talking eastern Lorain, western Cuyahoga, you know, add to that maybe northern Medina, and here we go with a lot of folks, thousands and thousands of people impacted by this one line of severe weather. So we have a severe thunderstorm warning for Cuyahoga County, Lorain, Medina until 9:30. The tornado warning for Lorain is still only until 9 o'clock. However, I have a feeling if we hit 9 o'clock and we go off the air, okay, thank you very much. Considerable severe thunderstorm warning. They've added that as we expected them to do with the tornado possible. So even if we go off the air here at 9 o'clock, there's a potential for us to come back on if the Weather Service sees enough out of that storm that they issue another tornado warning. Here's a live look. That outside at Crushers Park. Again, we've kind of changed the camera a little bit. You can see in the distance, that's the parking lot, and then the trees behind it. That's looking off more to the west, maybe even a little bit north of west, maybe due west, we'll call it. I-90 is on the left side. Again, pretty ominous there. It's going to pour rain very soon in Avon there at the Crushers camp. Look at the base of that cloud. Do we see anything coming down? No, not really. A lot of that is heavy rain there in the distance. We'll start to see some things start to whip around there really fast out in Avon. The worst of the wind right now is crossing the turnpike between North Ridgeville and Elyria. Let's go back to our computer here. Right there, you see that bright color right along the turnpike? That's likely that 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gust. So if you're in North Ridgeville right now, yeah, you're underneath the tornado warning, but also it's very windy. Yeah, widespread damage possible in North Ridgeville. Get to the basement immediately. There is North Ridgeville right there. And as I talked about earlier, it's a huge, fast-growing community. A lot of folks maybe haven't lived there that long, so maybe they're not familiar with severe weather here in this part of our area. Well, we get it, certainly, and get to your safe spot right now. Treat this, well, you are under a tornado warning, but also we're talking about 70, 80 mile per hour winds. We're likely going to get some damage here in North Ridgeville. When I see something like this, that bright, Sam, are we able to sample the winds inside this storm to kind of get an idea of what First Alert Doppler is estimating these bright greens, the values at? I'm going to guess we're at least 60 miles an hour. All right, we're getting close. Well, we'd have to hit the right pixel, but you kind of get the picture here. We're running at least 60 miles an hour, most likely, 50 to 60 conservatively, and then we're going to get those gusts in there approaching maybe 60 or 70. As we've talked about earlier, we had an 81 earlier. There's the airport right there. That's not going to be fun tonight for folks waiting on people to get back, and obviously better safe than sorry when it comes to weather. Thankfully, we don't have, as I mentioned, not a ton of planes that leave Hopkins once we hit around 8 or 9 p.m. There are still a few flights, but a lot more coming in. So there'll be delays coming in to the airport tonight. Westlake, North Olmsted, about 5 to 10 minutes away from those considerable winds. Yes, crossing over to Cuyahoga. Sam, they have not extended the tornado warning, have they?
Yeah, so their wording here with all of this, and I'll switch over to a radar that's a little bit easier to read, is that there's no decision yet on that Cuyahoga County warning whether or not they're going to extend it, but they are extremely concerned about widespread wind damage. You remember last year when we had the tornadoes in August, I think it was early August, we also had some pretty significant straight line wind damage, considerable straight line wind damage that was out, I think, farther east. But This is similar where we're talking about, hey, this is not a tornado warning yet for Cuyahoga County, but it is a severe thunderstorm warning for considerable wind damage. Remember, we've been talking about, 70 to 80 mile per hour winds can do every bit as much damage as or more than a weak tornado. So if you're in Westlake, North Olmsted, even though it's just a severe thunderstorm warning, I would personally, if I were giving my family and friends advice, treat it like you would treat a tornado warning and get to that lowest level of your home, even though it's not technically a tornado warning yet.
Right. Great advice. And again, sometimes we get so caught up on the tornado warning part, we forget that a thunderstorm that is capable of 70, 80 mile an hour winds in many cases not only impacts a lot more people, but also can be just as, if not more, devastating than a, frankly, weak tornado spin-up that we get a lot of here in northern Ohio. And most likely with these tornadoes here, they'll be relatively weak. They won't be on the ground very long at all. So we are talking about heavy rain right now moving into Avon, Elyria, Strongsville, western Cuyahoga County from Westlake to the airport. Heavy rain and wind. We still have that tornado warning for Lorain County for 2 more minutes. There's a live look right now out in Avon where it is raining hard. There's no question with blinding rain. We are dealing with very low visibility. Look at Interstate 90 just getting pounded with heavy rain, and the potential is there too for, again, that tornado on the ground potentially. You wouldn't be able to see it. This is from Avon, looking along Interstate 90. Look at the folks there with their hazards on. Yeah, that's really smart because you're not going to be able to see much. I talked about this earlier. Flooding is a big concern with so much moisture in the atmosphere. Remember, about 15, 20 minutes ago, this looked like that. Then we had a break, and then this is the main line coming. Look at the wind now. Yeah, you're going to start to see that rain kind of move sideways. And that's a live look right now out in Avon, where the storm is now heading to Avon. That's from our Crushers cam there in Avon right now. And you can't see much, that's for sure. Very low visibility. And again, I said this earlier, even if there is a tornado embedded in this, you're not going to be able to see it. So stay inside, get to your safe spot, and go from there, because that's not going to be something you want to be out in whatsoever. So the warning for severe thunderstorm with a considerable damage tag, what does that mean? It means severe thunderstorm warning that might cause damage. Now it's a destructive severe thunderstorm warning. Okay, well, we just literally talked about this about 5 to 10 minutes ago. So I just want to let the control room know we're going to stay on the air here for this, because when we have a destructive tag on a severe thunderstorm warning, we treat that as a tornado warning. And in this case, in many cases, this is even worse than a tornado warning. So the tornado warning, Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, has been allowed to expire.
Yes.
And unless I hear differently from the control room, and again, control room, please check, we're going to stay on the air here with this destructive severe thunderstorm warning for Cuyahoga County, because this thing is moving now into western Cuyahoga County. We are talking about, what does that say there?
Oh, sorry, that's 80.
80, okay, 80-mile-an-hour winds. I almost for a moment thought it was 90, but I'm glad it's only 80. 80-mile-an-hour winds likely. Sam, you and I were just speaking to this, saying they were probably writing up the warning as we were speaking, because evidence of an 81-mile-per-hour wind gust in Lorain. So, control room, we can say this is a destructive severe thunderstorm warning for Cuyahoga and Lorain until 9:45, however we want to word that, to let folks at home know as they're jumping around. So we treat this as a severe thunderstorm, or as a tornado warning, the same type of warning here, okay? Get to your safe spot. Airport, Parma, Westlake, Strongsville. This is where the nasty stuff is coming in from the south and west. And we're hoping, we've kept hoping all night, that as this line moved east, it would weaken, okay? Because the sun is setting, we're encountering some air that has been disturbed and disrupted. That really hasn't happened. In fact, in some cases, this thing's gotten stronger. It's a little jagged here, Sam, because we've got the data is coming from the airport right there.
Yeah, I mean, you're basically right on top of the radar. Look at the Parma camera. Zero visibility out there. Just torrential rain. You know how humid it's been all day. This is tropical type rain. I just got this wording in from the National Weather Service, and it really echoes what we were just saying. We are expecting, and I'm quoting the National Weather Service, we are expecting widespread wind damage in the Cleveland metro area. This is not a tornado warning, but the damage may be similar. Seek shelter in the lowest level of your home. Please treat this as a tornado warning. We are not taking this lightly. I have seen many times here and in other areas where a severe thunderstorm, you know, we always say don't treat it as just a severe thunderstorm, and it does just as much damage, if not more, than a weak tornado. People should not be out driving in this. Delay your travel, because you are not going to be able to see, and you're not going to be able to keep control of the wheel with these 80-mile-per-hour winds. If you're in Shaker, if you're in Euclid, I mean, this is moving at 60 miles an hour. So these conditions are rapidly moving towards you. We're experiencing the worst of the weather right now on the west side, but, you know, downtown Parma, this is flying in your direction. So we would just ask that you stay away from windows and just wait until this passes before you venture out and, you know, get on the roadways.
Live look right now, that was a live look at our Parma camera, and obviously you can't see much. There it is again. And the control room might need to help me. That is from our Parma Padua cam, right? Okay, cool. Because normally I'm able to look at it and go, oh, that's where we are. Obviously, right now you can't see much. So Parma, you guys are up in the next 5 to 10 minutes getting pounded. Actually happening now, as you can see, that rain's coming in, but the real big winds are likely 5 to 10 minutes away. The storm is moving 60 miles per hour. So sometimes when you have a storm that's moving that fast, the storm movement itself brings in very strong winds. You add to that these storms are pulling down winds from the upper levels of the atmosphere down to the ground. And then we get these very, very strong winds. So when we say severe thunderstorm warning, it is the unusual tag, a destructive severe thunderstorm warning. Can't stress this enough. These are not my words. These are words from the National Weather Service folks who issue the warnings. So it's not a tornado warning, but in many cases we have to treat it as such. Obviously, you're looking at this right now. It's heading right over Hopkins Airport, right there. I know that our digital anchor, Jeff Slauson, is analyzing flight issues. Jeff, let me know when we can come to you because I'm interested to know. I've actually just looked at my phone. I had 3 or 4 texts from people trying to get home, and they're asking me about the weather. Obviously, I'm a little busy right now, but you can maybe provide a little information for folks that are at home right now, and they're going to go get their loved one, or they're waiting for someone to come home, and these planes are trying to fly into Hopkins, and right now you just can't do it.
Yeah, no, once that camera spins around, we can get to me. I don't know if we need to full here. But one thing that's interesting, I don't know if you want to jump in too on this, Jason. My mic's up, right? I'm good?
Yep, you're on.
All right. This flight here, we'll wait when we're back. Great. This flight here is from DC heading into Cleveland, was already delayed 4 hours. You're going to see it kind of flickers through. The direct route was actually, you'll see right there. Yep. That's the direct route that it was supposed to take. It's been basically going around where the storms are as this has been moving in. Obviously, the pilots are going to be privy to some fairly decent information.
So they're not landing. They're coming back out.
And they started to go around basically as the band has been coming in. This is courtesy of FlightAware.
Yeah.
I've literally been watching it tick on. You can see right there. That's what it's supposed to be doing. That line that's basically supposed to be jagged. That's what it's supposed to be doing. Instead, it's been going like this and has not decided if it's going to be landing or not. That flight as well is among many of these ones. Oh, let's go back a couple of these are coming in flights, right?
Yep.
So we have the delayed, canceled, no recent info. We got tons of them coming on right now, but I think that's the most interesting at least. If you have a friend, family member that's on that DC flight, right now it doesn't know when it's landing, or we've seen this before where potentially they could put it somewhere else to make sure that it can at least get on the ground.
Yeah, because even if they're coming in from the south or from the east, they're not going to want to go through this rain. They're going to have to go around it, and it's a long flight to get around it because this line's really, really something. So you almost have to go back to where you came from, but at some point you're going to have to try to make your way back to Cleveland, or you go back to the other airport.
Right, and this Cleveland-Charlotte airport that took off, they basically went exactly that way and then went south. So
they got lucky. They got out just in time.
They were the last one that I saw to get out there. The last thing I want to hit on here before we do go back, the outages I've been tracking here. We'll go to this map right now. We're currently at about, this is actually a little more than 35,000 outages. Just for a reference, that's up from 20,000 about an hour ago. So we're seeing a drastic increase on that. Now, when we talk about these outages, I want to remind everybody, we are saying customers. That's not individual people. That could be more or less than about 35,000 people. It just depends on how many folks are living in that home and how many have an account. But the one thing that I want to show you here, which is really great, at least from what First Energy can provide, is they put it on the top of their own weather map. This is not ours, but this is at least theirs. And what you can see here is the outages that we're starting to see. Blue's not necessarily as bad. It's the greens, it's the yellows where we're seeing hundreds, if not thousands of customers affected. Look how that's lining up here. This is where we're seeing most of our outages, and look where that lines up as far as where the actual line of all this extreme weather that we're seeing. Yeah, it's basically 1 for 1 there. So if you are in this path, as we have been talking about, the outages are starting to follow it. So that is something that can be very much so concerning for anybody at home. So if you are trying to make sure whether or not you have your lights with you, you have your batteries full, things like that, yeah, now's the time to ensure all that. Make sure you have every sort of light source that you potentially need, because as we see this storm moving east, that's where we're seeing all these outages. And again, we're now up to 35,241, so that's gone up over the last few minutes.
All right, yeah, we can take radar live here, and yeah, that's going to continue to go up, Jeff. I mean, you know, because right now the worst of the weather is entering Cuyahoga County, moving through Cuyahoga County, and you know, obviously our most populated county here in northern Ohio. This is about to cross over Interstate 77. So again, it's almost like, you know, moving 50, 60 miles per hour. It's like driving a car. You know how long it takes you to get from western Cuyahoga County to eastern Cuyahoga County if there's no traffic? Storms don't have traffic to deal with. You know, it takes about, what, 45, half hour, 45 minutes sometimes, depending on which route you go. Maybe if you take the long way, it takes a little bit longer. So this is going to be over pretty quickly. It's 9:08. The warning goes until 9:45. I think the worst of it will be largely out of the county by then. It's really between now and about 9:30 that we're going to get the worst of it. And this is coming in now to downtown Cleveland. And remember, Lakewood, west side of Cleveland, a lot of very old trees. And very old trees near homes, near power lines. And there we go. Oh, this was in Elyria. Yeah, boy, we were on the air for that. Extensive tree and power line damage in Elyria. I hate to hear that, but I have a feeling tomorrow's going to be a cleanup day across many parts of northern Ohio. Severe storm warning with a destructive tag on it. Again, what does that mean? You know, when the severe thunderstorm warnings are issued, frequently, that's why we have a 19 first alert weather day in effect today. But when the Weather Service adds that destructive tag, that indicates where these storms really pack a punch and could do some damage. And once we had that evidence out in Lorain County of that 81-mile-an-hour gust, I said, oh, here we go. This is going to be significant for Cuyahoga County. Let's track this. Now, I'm hoping we have a little weakening here, but so far we haven't had a lot of weakening. Shaker Heights in about 5 minutes. Menor, okay, off into Lake County. They'll definitely issue a severe thunderstorm warning for Lake County, Geauga County as well. Menor 9:30, Chardon 9:36, then on into Madison at 9:45, Ashtabula at 10. I would be very surprised if that severe thunderstorm warning isn't extended for our northeastern counties as well. The worst of the weather right now is moving through central Cuyahoga County as we speak. Could there be embedded tornadoes, weak tornadoes? Yes, absolutely. Live look right now. This is our Parma Tower camera from Padua High School. I can't tell you what direction it's looking. It's looking one of the directions because it is getting pounded with heavy rain. There probably is a little hail embedded too. And I'm sure our downtown Cleveland cam, our downtown cam probably also looks really bad. If we at some point can pull that up, it probably won't look too much different than this. It'll just give us a perspective because I'm sure downtown Cleveland right now is getting hit. There is a little bit of thunder, not a lot of thunder over the lake, and then some thunder down towards the Strongsville area, as well as the potential for a little bit of hail. Right now, the worst of the weather is moving through the airport. There we go, live picture downtown Cleveland. Is to no surprise, you can't see the buildings in the distance. Normally you'd be able to see that. Actually doesn't look as bad as I expected. That could change though as we head in the next 5 or 10 minutes. That could look a lot worse into downtown Cleveland. That's looking off towards the city, would normally be just on the right half of your screen, and then looking left you'd kind of be out towards Ohio City and eventually the lakeshore there. So the whole line, by the way, if we can go back to radar real quick, the whole line is severe from Cleveland all the way down throughout the entire 19 News View area. In fact, Sam, if we zoomed out, this goes probably all the way down to Columbus too, right?
Yeah, this is a big one.
Wow, it's the whole state. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. It's everyone. I mean, the whole Buckeye State, it's just being warned from north to south.
Been a while since I've seen that. That is something. Now, we start to talk about definitions of derechos and all that. We'll see when the smoke clears. I don't think we'll get there, but this is really something. Boy, and along the entire line, damaging wind gusts. Down to the south, not as bad as what we're dealing with here. Perhaps. I'm not sure if there are any destructive tags on any of these cells. It looks just like they're just normal severe thunderstorm warnings. So you can see Portage, Stark, Summit, Wayne, 1015. As we head farther south, we've probably got some warnings here for Tusk, for Holmes as well, down to the south. Severe thunderstorm warnings in effect there as well. Now, the good news is Elyria's better. Medina's getting better too. These are considerable. Okay, yeah, considerable. Not destructive, but considerable. So we've got our normal severe thunderstorm warning, then it comes up to considerable damage, and then when it gets to 70 miles an hour, when we talk about 80 miles an hour, you get the alert on your phone, the EMS alert. 80 miles an hour indicates the destructive tag. And again, it's been a couple of years since we've had a destructive tag on a thunderstorm here in northern Ohio, from what I can recall. So here we are, the heavy rains right now, Parma into downtown Cleveland through the heart of Cuyahoga County as we speak. Lorain, you guys are pretty much done. So this is really just for Cuyahoga County. Officially, it's still Lorain, but The weather in Lorain County is getting much better. Yeah, it's a little bit of rain and some wind, but that's about it. So really, we're focused here on Cuyahoga County with that destructive tag until 9:45. The Weather Service will likely make that update here as we move forward in time. Down into Summit County, a lot of heavy rain right now crossing in just west of Akron. This was an area that got hit earlier. Ravenna had that tornado warning, so we're doing it again. Really, the third time tonight, because we had another, I think it's the third severe thunderstorm warning for Portage County, Sam, tonight.
Yeah, I mean, we had that discrete cell that is probably still trucking along over here somewhere in Pennsylvania. It looks like it's weekend, but I mean, that thing was, just made its way basically across most of northern Ohio. So multiple warnings today for Portage County. I know you're probably kind of over it, but the good news is now it's getting later, right? The sun has set. We've already seen some storms in this area, so we didn't have a ton of time to recover after the last round of storms moved through. So I don't know about you, Jason. I would imagine these will at least start to weaken a little bit, and maybe we'll go back down to your general severe thunderstorm warnings and not so many of these considerable warnings.
Yeah, I would expect that to happen, especially since it's 9:15. Now, if we were at 5 in the afternoon, I'd say, well, look out, eastern Ohio. But I do suspect that these will begin to weaken a little bit. But I can't stress it enough here. Eastern Cuyahoga County, obviously, you move through the heights, Shaker Heights, Cleveland Heights, Mayfield Heights. We've got, again, a lot of big trees, a lot of old trees, a lot of power lines, a lot of homes. And it's a bad combination when it comes to power outages as well. So the severe thunderstorm warning now only for Cuyahoga, if I'm reading that right, Sam, until 9:45. As I mentioned, the Lorain County part of this storm is basically over. Improving weather conditions at the airport as well. But again, any planes, they can't fly through this stuff. So they've got to kind of come around some way to get there. What's that?
Land.
Oh, some have landed.
Yes.
Oh, great. Yeah. Well, obviously now, if you land on the west, you're fine. You can come in from the west. That'll work. So that's certainly good news. I would imagine things would start to get a little bit better, get back to normal-ish here at Hopkins Airport if you're waiting on someone to come in. Yeah, considerable with the tornado possible for Cuyahoga. Oh, is that a new warning, Sam? I'm sorry.
They're kind of just making an adjustment to the warning, so same time, it's still in effect until 9:45, and same area, although many of your west side suburbs have been removed. So if you were seeking shelter in Westlake or Olmsted Falls, North Olmsted, you're in the clear. You can head on out of your safe spot, but instead of 80-mile-per-hour winds now coming into Shaker and Euclid, they've downgraded it to 70, but that's still significant wind.
Yeah, good point there. And it has weakened a little bit. So we've gone from that destructive down to considerable. Am I right on that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Good, good. Let's turn on the velocity product real quick and see if we can't see, first of all, any spin, and secondly, where the strongest winds are so folks can prepare. Although, basically, if you're in eastern Cuyahoga County, prepare, because that's what's happening. All right, so strong winds right now. There you go. Boom, right there, right down I-77. Also here, just off to the north and west of downtown Cleveland. You want to look for those brighter colors indicating these stronger winds here moving through Cuyahoga County as we speak. So Cleveland Heights, Mayfield Heights, Shaker Heights, I-271 corridor, you are up next. We're talking eastern parts of the county, northeastern parts of Cuyahoga County. That's the worst of the weather coming your way. Hey, things are improving. Lakewood, Rocky River, Westlake, Avon Lake. In fact, probably some clearing out on the Crushers Cam if I were to make a guess there. But again, everything heading off to the north and east here with this considerable damage possible, winds to 70 miles per hour, tornado possible. So you've got all these tags on this severe thunderstorm warning. It is not a normal severe thunderstorm warning here, and it is for Cuyahoga County, and it's our most populated county here, so a lot of folks are impacted. How about a live look right now? This is what it looks like from our downtown Cleveland camera. Notice you can't see much of anything here. Showers, thunderstorms rolling through, and visibility is next to nothing there over downtown Cleveland. We're also getting a good amount of wind moving through. I think for the most part, the worst part of the storm has now moved east of downtown Cleveland here, out ahead of these heavy rain and thunderstorms moving through central Cuyahoga County and eventually up here into eastern Cuyahoga County, right along the 271 corridor, also right along Interstate 90 as well, Sam, with this thunderstorm. And as I'm looking at it now, I don't see much in the way of any rotation. However, along the leading edge, we can absolutely have a potential for a weak spin up here as this cell's moving through. Akron, you guys are about to get hit. Canton, Dover, Cambridge, well, Canton, Dover, because you don't get us in Cambridge, but Canton and Dover, you guys are up next here in the next half an hour to 45 minutes, perhaps even sooner than that. Portage, Stark, Summit, Wayne until 10:15. The one behind it was Carroll County, I believe, as well in that warning. Nothing yet for Lake. Am I right, Sam, on that?
Yeah, nothing yet.
Well, that's come.
Nope, there it is.
There we go. So there's Lake and Geauga, and those likely go until probably 10:15, I would imagine. Let's take a look. It goes into Ashtabula too, maybe even 10:30. 10 o'clock. Okay, moving quick. Geauga Lake till 10 o'clock. Largely here over the next 45 minutes, these will blow through. Severe thunderstorm warning. Do we have any tags on that? Tornado possible, perhaps? Considerable damage possible, I would assume.
Yep, these are both considerable winds, 70 miles per hour, and a tornado possible, especially along that leading edge. So that's a new severe thunderstorm warning, and that's again in effect until 1070 mile per hour winds. Still radar indicated, which makes sense because hopefully people are inside, so no one would be able to tell us, but everything would be wrapped in rain. So stay safe out there. Wow, check out our Akron camera. Look at that Arcus cloud or shelf cloud. That is incredible. When you see one of these, it's time to head inside because a lot of heavy rain, and look at that tremendous lightning on the way.
Yeah, that indicates very strong winds, heavy rain as well, most likely some hail. Now you notice how in front of that thing's kind of coming down a little bit. Sam, talk about that.
So out ahead of this, again, we were talking about this being a shelf cloud or an Arcus cloud. Again, this is the leading edge of wind. And sometimes along the leading edge of these things, we can get what we call SCUD. That's yet another weather acronym. There's tons of them. It stands for Scattered Cumulus Under Deck. So sometimes you can see little fingers, that's our SCUD coming down, and those can sometimes be mistaken for tornadoes. Now, this complex of storms coming into Summit County and coming through Summit County is not warned for a tornado, but it does have a tornado possible tag on it. So if you're actually, they don't have the tornado possible tag on this one. They have the considerable wind damage threat. But when you see something like this, and sometimes people will send us pictures and say, I saw a tornado, or I saw, something that may have looked like one. So that is your leading edge. I just cannot get over the amount of lightning.
Yeah, it is a lightning show. I mean, just look at that. And this is from our Stark State College camera in Akron. And as Sam just very eloquently described, what you're seeing there is not a tornado. That's something most likely we call SCUD. That is not associated with a tornado, but a lot of times it is associated with those shelf-type clouds, indicating very strong winds, very heavy rain, and as you see there, a lot of thunder as well. I mean, look at that. The lightning just won't stop. There's so much energy and electricity in these storms. We really are seeing quite a lightning show out there. And again, this is down in Summit County where the rain is about to move in. It has not yet moved in to downtown Akron, but it is getting close. In fact, if we stay on this a little bit longer, we probably will see the conditions deteriorate there. You're looking live right now. This is Akron, and we notice we have another little lowering of the clouds there just off to the kind of the middle of your screen right now. Look at how fast these clouds are moving. And now that you can see kind of the bottom of that first cloud, you can see there is no
tornado warning
contact with the ground. Okay, well, look at that. We have a tornado warning, and it's really almost near that cell, isn't it? Well, it's more likely to the north. Yeah, it's more likely to the north there. But let's go back to our weather computers, because we're going to be on the air for a little bit longer. I told the control room, I told some of our directors tonight, I go, yeah, probably until 11 we're going to have to be on standby. Well, here we go. So a brand new tornado warning. This is for Geauga, Portage, and Summit until 9:45 tonight. Well, this is the southern edge of this storm, interestingly enough, but it's all part of the same complex. All part of the same complex. Now, what we were just looking at in Akron is way down here, okay? Now, what they're warning for is likely what's happening right here in the middle part of the storm. And you can tell by the polygon, because normally the center of the storm, what's warned for, is right in the middle of that polygon. Let's take a look here inside the storm. Okay, we had a little bit of spin there, perhaps, not a lot, but right in and around the Hudson area. Boy, don't like that, Sam, in and around Hudson.
No.
Yeah, because, you know, we've got a populated area, we've got a town there between. By the way, Cuyahoga Falls earlier was under a tornado warning, so their second one of the night. This is quite a night we're dealing with right here. So we look at these notches right there. There's one there, just south of Hudson, between Cuyahoga Falls and Hudson, right along Route 8, just east of Route 8. Hudson, Streetsboro, take shelter right now. I can't emphasize it enough, even in Cuyahoga Falls.
Yeah.
Because there's a possibility. While we looked at the southern edge of that storm that didn't look all that funky, boy, we don't have a camera up this way, which might look a little bit different. So right there where you see that little merge there of the green and the red, again, it's completely different based on where our radar is, but that's where you look at for that rotation there embedded in this storm. So this thing may move right along 303 too, Sam, out towards Shalersville. Interstate 76 is down here, but this is the turnpike again. You never like to get tornado warnings, but you especially don't like them on the turnpike or any big highway because people are just driving through. They have no idea what's going on. They're just driving and waiting to get to the next state. All right, let's time this out. Streetsboro, 932. Shalersville, 940. Garrettsville, 951. On into Champion. That's out in by Youngstown, Trumbull County, 1008. And then Orwell in southwestern Ashtabula County, closer to 10:15, if that were to hold together. This line, just want to get a little bit of good news here. This line should be out of the state by 10:30, 10:45. That's about all I can say right now. That's a little bit of good news as these storms continue to push off to the north and east. So new tornado warning, there you go. Summit, Portage, Geauga counties until 9:45 tonight. Due to the fact that these storms, the line of these storms, they've all had tornado possible, and most of them at least, and they all could spin up a tornado. And even on top of that, again, very strong winds. We're talking 70+ mile per hour winds, even if you're not under that tornado warning currently. So that's a brand new one here. We have 20 minutes on it only, because remember, what's the speed on this storm, Sam? 60?
45. This
only
one's moving a little
45.
slower.
Okay, so it's a little bit slower on the more of a southern edge of this thing, 45. So it's moving quick. It's not moving as fast as those cells up to the north there, though. There's your leading edge right there. Streetsboro, Shalersville, Hudson. Get to your safe spot immediately. Get to the lowest point of your home, the basement. If you lose power, and that's another problem tonight, is a lot of power outages. Jeff, how many at last count?
40,000.
40,000 customers without power, and that means a lot more people don't have power, but 40 households without power. And you lose power, what do? The TV's not on. That's why we stream our coverage, okay? And that's what we always say, be sure your devices are charged up and ready to go. Turn up the audio, take it with you, get to your safe spot. And with the storms moving this fast, the danger will be over pretty quick. Pretty quick. So seek shelter immediately, yes, in the Hudson area. Let's zoom in a little bit more, Sam, and take a look at where we might be having some trouble here. So there's Hudson. This is Route 91 right there. There's Route 8. We were looking at a live picture earlier. That's 303, Hudson to Streetsboro. So the concern here would be perhaps right there's a little notch. That's probably your best chance. Also, right up there, it's one of those things where we've got maybe a couple of areas. There's some bright reds right there. Right around the Hudson area, just west of Hudson, right along 303, and then also just south of Hudson. Also, the potential is there. But I think for the most part, this could be where our rotation is the worst. Again, it's a challenge to detect tornadoes here in northern Ohio. They don't jump out at you on our products like they would out, down in Tornado Alley where you easily can see it. So sometimes in Ohio, it's a little bit more tricky to identify where that spin is. But you can see that bright color near Hudson, and then we do have that little switch over back to green there, the potential for a little bit of spin as this cell moves off to the north and east, and also right there south of Hudson. Power outages, yeah, a big concern. Also a little notch north of Hudson, but look at that big strong wind right there, that very bright red. So that leads me to think that that's our best chance, but also again up there. What about I was going to ask, correlation coefficient. A little bit there, not seeing anything that really jumps out at me. Remember what our correlation coefficient does? All the maroon is rain, and then anything that's not rain, it says, hey, this is not rain. This is perhaps debris. This could be leaves. This could be dirt. This could be perhaps siding, perhaps parts of roofs, anything that's not rain. Sometimes it can also be hail. So a little bit north of Hudson right there, subsignature, but if it was a tornado on the ground, it would be a bright color right in the middle of that maroon. We've seen that before. Thankfully, right now, not seeing that at this point. We're getting reports of uprooted trees south of Hudson. There's Route 91. So those winds just blew through here, uprooted some trees. Is it a tornado? Probably not. Just very strong, damaging wind gusts. That's why we're on the air right now. We were on the air even before the tornado warning was issued because of what's happening up in Cuyahoga County. Can we go back up there too, Sam, when we can? We'll get back down to this tornado warning in a moment, but look at the heavy rain there in Hudson as well. Here's a live look right now. This is our Stark State College cam in Akron. Watch for the lightning there, most likely in the distance. Boy, this is some nasty weather tonight. This is a night that's it's gonna be remembered for a while. There's no question, and unfortunately, I hope I'm wrong. I hope we don't wake up tomorrow morning with a whole lot of damage across northern Ohio. Almost 40,000 here without power as we speak, and you can see this picture right now just outside of downtown Akron, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, that was torrential rain. That's why we're, telling people, hey, if you're in Streetsboro right now, if you're out ahead of any of these storms, if you're in Menor or Chardon, wait until these pass through because, excuse the ponytail, but we're in severe weather mode here. You got to wait till these move through because you're not going to be able to see. I mean, it's just a tremendous amount of rainfall, just given how humid it's been today.
Yeah, and you can start to see, I was thinking we'd have this happen earlier, where this thing's starting to bow out a little bit, and what it turns into is really strong winds, and then typically the storms will weaken. They just really haven't weakened all that much. Although the one up in Cuyahoga County has weakened a little bit. Let's zoom back up here because Lake County is about to get slammed with the leading edge of this stuff now moving into southwestern Lake County. You can see it here. Menor, you guys are up next. Very strong winds, 60, 70 mile per hour wind gusts heading into Lake County. Current time is 9:30. We have that tornado warning until 9:45. Heavy rains right now moving through the Euclid area. Most likely very low visibility. And another issue, and we've talked about this a few times tonight, is very concerned as the sun sets and we can't see anymore of flooding. Flash flooding, roads that you think are just wet, all of a sudden you come up and they're covered with water and you can't get through. And you try to do it anyway, and then we're reporting on someone getting stranded there. So this amount of water will cause some localized flooding. And I'm assuming we'll probably get some flash flood warnings here, potentially, or at least flood advisories as we move through your evening. So there's your tornado warning, Geauga Portage until 9:45 for basically that leading edge, which could be producing multiple spins, multiple tornadoes, weak, short-lived, along that leading edge. That's typically what we will see. Now up here, no tornado warning doesn't really matter. They could issue one at any time if they see a couple of scans of rotation. So we also obviously are waiting for any confirmation too, but as Sam mentioned, it's torrential rains. It's hard to get any type of confirmation out there. And again, it's something where you do not want to even go out. You certainly don't want to go outside. And even looking out your window makes no sense either, because if a tornado is coming through or a very strong wind gust, the wind or a tornado could pick up an item and fly it through the air into your window, and boom, you've got a real problem there too. So this is looking inside the storm here, our velocity product. And again, we've just got the leading edge here where you could have some spin-ups. Aurora, Streetsboro, get to your safe spot now. You're in that tornado warning as we speak. Everything heading towards Manaway, Shalersville, Garrettsville, even up towards the Parkman area as well. 15 minutes max lead time here. You have lead time though, so that's really helpful. Storm doesn't look all that great near Aurora. You got maybe even have a little bit of a spin there. Also, we watch for notches. We also watch for kind of these appendages coming out too. Sometimes those can be indicative of rotation near ground level as well. And also, you see this gray indicates where we probably have some hail falling south of Twinsburg. Most likely maybe dime or quarter-sized hail. Nothing larger than that, I'd be surprised. But that's also an issue here too. The good news is for Summit County, yeah, you are in the clear now. Yay for Summit County. That helps. Cuyahoga County coming up next in the clear, but it's still blowing through eastern Cuyahoga County as we speak. Solon getting slammed, as well as here up along 271 to Interstate 90. Torrential rain. So we're going to be dealing with high water issues here tonight and most likely even into the overnight and tomorrow morning as well on these storms that are blowing through. So just a little recap here, 9:34, Chief Meteorologist Jason Nicholas here along with meteorologist Sam Roberts. We've been on the air basically all evening here off and on due to severe weather. Tornado warnings a little bit after 6 o'clock. We had a little bit of that went on for a while, a little bit of a break. Then we had more tornado warnings, a little bit of a break. And now we're back on for that destructive severe thunderstorm warning through Cuyahoga County. And now this new tornado warning, new-ish tornado warning for Geauga and Portage counties. That goes another 10 minutes or so on that. We'll see if they decide to extend it. Aurora, Twinsburg, blinding rain right now happening right along Route 82 there. There's 43. There's Route 82 just north of Manaway. A lot of heavy rain, and we could get a tornado dropping down in any spot here. Again, difficult to pinpoint because of the fact that this whole line is spinning on the leading edge, possibly producing tornadoes. And the tornado signature could be there in one scan, and then it's gone, and then it's back. It could be back in a different spot because the whole line is getting enough shear, enough spin in the atmosphere, tapping into a little bit of that shear to where these things start to spin up just a little bit. Bainbridge, the worst is coming right on your doorstep right now, so take cover. Same deal in Manaway, Garrettsville, Parkman, lowest point of your home. If you don't have a basement, get to that interior room. Closet, could be a bathroom, something sturdy with a door frame, an interior hallway. Anything that is probably the most structurally sound part of your home, typically in the middle of it. You don't want to be up against the windows or up against the exterior portions of the home in case the home, something happens to the walls, right? You want to be in the middle of it with something sturdy. Studies have shown that is the best place to be. Sam, right now we're not done with this just yet. We got 10 more minutes on this warning, right?
Yeah, 10 more minutes left. I haven't gotten anything just yet from the Weather Service, only that Summit County is obviously in the clear. But for those of you in Manaway or Shalersville, Garrettsville, you're out ahead of this. I mean, these storms are holding together pretty good. You hear those little chimes in the background. Those are messages coming in from the National Weather Service. We're constantly in contact with them, and they just sent out a flash flood warning.
Yeah, surprised that's the first one. And I'm surprised we're probably going to get one up towards possibly Cuyahoga and Lorain as well, though nothing yet. There's your flash flood warning, and this is not at all surprising. Just torrential amounts of rain, Cuyahoga and Summit. So it's just that little edge there of Cuyahoga? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the whole county has a lot of water. This goes until midnight, 12:30 in the morning. So as I mentioned earlier, and again, you have a little bit more of a challenge down here, right? Because you've got the park, you've got more elevation, so you probably have more roads. Well, I know you have more roads. I've driven on most of them down here. You've got more ups and downs there as you get down towards the Cuyahoga River and the Cuyahoga Valley. So you've got more areas where water can collect and cause trouble versus saying out into western Cuyahoga County or in Lorain County where you're just a little bit flatter. So this flash flood warning is nothing to take lightly, meaning if you don't have to be out tonight, don't do it. Now, highways, for the most part, should be all right, but you get in some of these back roads that go down a little bit, a little dip, they could easily be covered with water, and before you know it, then you've got to try to back up and find another route while it's pouring rain, or you're going to try to drive through it and hope for the best. Don't do that either, because it does not take much water to not only sweep you off your feet, but also at times to lift up your car here. And in some cases, we have reported on the water rising so fast where it overtakes cars that aren't necessarily ready for it. So can't fool around with that stuff. Flash flood warnings, especially at night, those are a potentially big problem. So again, if you're going to be out and about tonight, keep that in mind. Yeah, tough situation for many folks there tonight. Here's a live look at perhaps a little improvement on our camera in outside of Akron. That would make sense. Stark State College camera there, Route 8 in Akron, looking a little bit better. Cleveland is looking much better right now, downtown Cleveland, so that's good news. Lake County is about to get slammed with heavy rain as well. Our power outages continue to increase as well. We're momentarily going to head over to our digital anchor, Jeff Slauson. He's been at the big board crunching the numbers all evening long. But look at all that heavy rain right now moving into southwestern Lake County. Menor up next. 60, 70 mile per hour wind gusts there in Menor. Yikes. Heading into Geauga County as well. And we still have that tornado warning, Geauga and Portage counties, until 9:45. 7 more minutes on that, Sam. Well, you look at that warning, it's got a lot longer to go. So we'll see what they do with that. Let's head over to Jeff now. Jeff, we're well into the 40s as far as thousands without power, right?
Yeah, this jumped up. So over 15 minutes, we went up from like roughly 30-ish to 46,377. Just want to show you the areas that have been hit the hardest here, and the clear number one is Lorain. 9.1 thousand customers currently without power there. Now, Cuyahoga County was at 100 about 5 minutes ago. That has jumped up to 2.5 thousand customers. I know I say this all the time. I'm going to keep saying it. When we say customers, that's not necessarily people. That could be over or under depending, because one customer, one house, or that could be more if multiple people are in a one customer place. So the number could actually be far higher depending on that. But what we have basically seen as the storm has rolled through, no area has been spared here. When you see things in the colors that are the greens and those yellows, that's when you start to approach multiple hundred, if not thousands of customers without power. And that's what we've basically seen. You can see along the water here, no one is shy right now of 2,000 customers without power. And again, the most power outages currently in the state in Lorain County at 9.1, with that total of 46,377. We talk about this all the time. If you have the opportunity to send us photos, obviously you need to do it safely. If you can do it from things like a security camera, which is exactly what happened. Our assistant news director here at 19 News, this is North Ridgeville, just what it looked like outside. Couple of things here. You can see on this like northern portion, or the top portion, excuse me, just how aggressive those winds are. And then, yeah, I mean, that's quite a bit outside of that door. That's something that you don't want to mess with as you're trying to make your way in or out. I mean, obviously, just stay inside. It can be incredibly dangerous. 2 more photos I want to touch on here. This is the Findlay Police Department. Yeah, that's obviously not ideal. Take a look at where that roof was and where that like kind of came down on top of those cars. That just shows the strength of some of those winds. And then the last one I'm going to show you before I send it back over to Jason and Sam. This is kind of cool there, Jason. That's Port Clinton.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty decent view of exactly what we're looking at. And for those that can't necessarily see, look in this portion of the screen here. Yeah, the person that took that, hopefully you're doing all right after that, and hopefully you kept yourself incredibly safe. But that's really an incredible photo, Jason, of all that. But again, 46,000, nearing 50,000 without power. We have not seen this amount since the massive storms that we saw last year.
Yeah, you're right. Unfortunately, we're dealing with it again tonight. That's why we issue 19 First Alert weather days. There's a reason for it. I want to zoom back into what's going on here in Geauga County and into Portage County as well. What we're watching here, there's Aurora off to the west. Aurora right now, you're getting hit heavy rain and most likely a little bit of hail in there as well, right there in Aurora. But the worst part of this storm, where we're likely, if we are seeing that tornado, the greatest tornado risk, is right here north of Manaway. Notice we have that little notch right there. That's where we're likely getting that rotation. Is it coming down to the ground? It could be. But you know, it's certainly up into the clouds, and if that rotation comes down to the ground, we can have a weak spin up. But regardless of that, remember, these winds are not messing around. They're 60, 70 plus mile per hour winds, basically all the way from Ravenna, Shalersville, and then all the way back up and down, right along that leading line. But when you zoom into that storm, the worst part of it is it blew through Streetsboro about 5-10 minutes ago. Now, Manaway and Hiram. So again, Hiram is up next here. This is right along Route 82. There's Route 44, heavy rain there. Anybody along north and south of Route 82 in and around the Hiram area, in and around Manaway, get to your safe spot, away from windows. Crank up the audio. We'll get you through this. It's a very busy night here. We've got the one warning. Thankfully, hey, by the way, Cuyahoga County, I think we can sound the all clear, Sam, thankfully. What a night for Cuyahoga County. What a night for Lorain County. But, you know, while it's still raining out here, this is nothing compared to what we've been dealing with. This is all going to be lighter rain. But there's the leading edge right now. So right now, slicing through Lake County. So eventually here, Paynesville, Madison, Concord Township, up into Lake County. And then into Geauga County, we're talking about Chardon and Middlefield, still 70-mile-per-hour winds possible. And then there's the red box indicating that tornado warning for Geauga and Portage. 2 more minutes on that warning, by the way, Sam, and then we can sound we can remove the tornado warning.
Yes.
Still going to be a very rough night as these storms race up into portions of Lake County and Geauga County as well. Heading farther south, there's that little notch right there. You don't like to see it. Turn on our velocity product real quick, and I want to see if we have any spin along that leading edge, and we can kind of pinpoint where we might be getting that rotation once again, because we do have a couple more minutes on this warning, and the Weather Service has not reissued it. So that is okay with us. That's fine. There's Manaway. There's Hiram. A little issue there just south of Auburn. A little notch right there. Again, tough to see. Leading edge right there. Basically north and west of Hiram, you have a little spin up. And that is good news. We're going to expire that tornado warning for Geauga and Portage counties. But again, it doesn't mean the threat's over, because this could still drop down a tornado warning, or a tornado warning could be issued for it as well. Geauga and Portage County, that is good news. Tornado warning expired. So control room, we're just under now severe thunderstorm warnings across northern Ohio. Basically, you know, almost all the counties here. This tornado warning will expire. We have a flash flood warning here as well. That's north of downtown Akron. This leading edge is just flying north and east here very quickly at about 45 to 50 miles per hour. So Portage, Stark, Summit, and Wayne until 10:15 on that severe thunderstorm warning. Down into Ravenna, also looking pretty rough. This is a live look at our Madison camera, looking off into the distance. I actually really think this is going to be an interesting shot, because these storms are coming in from the west, and Madison here, that's what we're looking at right now. This is from our Madison camera right along Interstate 90, and boy, you don't like to see what I see on the camera there. You certainly have a lot of thunder, some rain, then a little lowering of the clouds, most likely indicating very heavy rains, some hail, perhaps some strong winds. I would suspect this camera is looking southwest here. We could spin it around and see the highway too, but that's probably our best viewpoint right now. And this is what many of us are dealing with tonight. Very busy night for severe weather. Severe thunderstorm warnings across basically all of northern Ohio as we speak. And those warnings will continue into the evening. I'm going to ask the control room really quick. Do we have to step down at anything to start before the 10 o'clock news? Just asking from a control room standpoint if we need to reset it all and kind of get our game in order here, because no tornado warnings at this point. Yes, we do have severe thunderstorm warnings, but we won't need to continue to go on 19, I believe, once we sign off of here. So just give me a little guidance there and how much time you guys need there as well. Okay, well, we're going to take this then up to 10 o'clock, at least on Cleveland's 43, and perhaps on 19 as well, before we then switch and start our newscast on Cleveland's 43. I think that's pretty safe to do. We can probably conclude our coverage on OIO once we hit the bottom of the hour, at least from a meteorological standpoint. So again, we're tracking these severe thunderstorm warnings. They're all capable of 70-mile-per-hour winds as they move through northern Ohio. Right now, the worst of the weather is in Lake County, into Geauga County as well, all the way down there into much of central Geauga County, and that's where the worst of the weather is. I'm just looking at this lightning show right now. It is something. And again, remember, these storms have brought in very strong winds. So Ashtabula County until 10:45. As I mentioned earlier, these storms would likely be out of here by 10:45 at 11 o'clock. We're sticking to that. So, you know, have another hour or so here that we're dealing with this. All right, men are over to Madison. I'm getting a little echo in my ear control room, just to let you know. Ashtabula, you guys are up next. Heavy rain right now through the Menor area as you head down into Geauga County as well. Much better now, thank you. And then south and west towards greater Cleveland, things have really quieted down. That is good news, but still some nasty weather all the way down, even as you move into Akron, now outside of Akron, Canton. Canton is about to get hammered right now. We can zoom in there. Very strong winds on the order of 60 miles per hour. Downtown Canton about to get slammed with heavy rain. And again, remember, with all these strong winds, we've had reports of power outages across northern Ohio, almost 50,000 customers. So that's more people without power this evening. That number will likely continue to grow a little bit. 62,000, there we go. So we're now up to 62,500 customers across northern Ohio without power. That's why we always say before severe weather comes in, be sure your devices are all charged up, because in case you lose power, we stream our coverage on our YouTube, on Facebook, on our First Alert weather app, on our news app as well. Canton right now, I-77 is absolutely very difficult right now to travel on. We probably have cars with their hazards on up and down 77 right now. Torrential rains, a good amount of thunder as well. Can't rule out a little pea-sized hail. Limited tornado threat, not a zero. We only have one flash flood warning right now, surprising to me, but we may have more added eventually here. So the worst of your weather really is right through Lake County. If you're in Madison right now, it's coming. Chardon, it's coming. Middlefield, it's coming. And then really strong winds right there, where you kind of see that clean edge. Parkman, Garrettsville, prepare for 60-plus mile-per-hour wind gusts. Right along 700, heavy rain. Can't rule out a little hail in and around the Auburn area. Quite a night, Sam.
Yeah, I didn't like the look of that coming into Parkman. I'm thinking we're going to see some significant wind there. That one is warned for severe thunderstorm warning. Heavy rain and a lot of wind coming into Garrettsville as well. Very disruptive, obviously. And then we've got that newer severe thunderstorm warning for Ashtabula County. Now, the storms are still coming through Lake County and Geauga County, but they're on the way. So if you're in Kingsville, North Kingsville, Geneva, Ashtabula, really all of Ashtabula County, get ready, because that's an hour long, just about 55 minutes left on that particular severe thunderstorm warning. And then, of course, off to the west, good news, things are quieting down and the watch is being scaled back from west to east, which we like to see once the worst of the weather has moved through.
Yeah, watches at this point are pretty much irrelevant because everyone's been under a warning at this point. So once the warning is over, your severe weather threat is over. Tomorrow we may have some storms too, as some cooler air comes in along that front, potentially south of the lakeshore in the afternoon. We could be dealing with some storms as well tomorrow. So more on that once we get through tonight. And then the big heat up. So, you know, you don't love this scenario, Sam, where if we have folks without power tonight, if it doesn't get restored fast, by the time Saturday rolls around, we're mid-80s, and then we're at 90 Sunday, Monday, Tuesday of next week with humidity, where if you don't have air conditioning, these cooling centers are going to be packed with folks, in addition to those folks who might not have power restored yet. Yeah, this is a live look. Still Madison. Notice, hey, that the clouds are coming closer, aren't they? And easy to see, because within, every second or so, there's a light up of the sky with the lightning. No rain there yet in Madison, but that is about to change as well. That line is coming at you at about 45 miles an hour. The worst of it is over in Menor. The worst of it has gotten to Chardon. Middlefield about to get slammed. Madison about to get slammed. Those storms are riding right along Interstate 90. So it'll be interesting to see. We can sometimes move that camera and see the interstate too. And we'll probably have a lot of cars with their hazards on coming in from the east, heading off to the west, because of they're driving through this right here. So we're tracking this line, still moving pretty quick, 40, 45 miles per hour, and severe thunderstorm warnings are in effect. As of right now, there are no tornado warnings in effect, but we still have the severe thunderstorm warnings for Geauga and Lake until 10 o'clock. And then down to the south as well. Very strong storms, severe thunderstorm warnings. We saw this earlier. We did a wide shot of the state, Sam. It was pretty remarkable that we basically had severe thunderstorm warnings all the way from Cleveland down to roughly Portsmouth And that's what we've got going on now. Basically everybody, there's a little area around Lancaster, south and east of Columbus, that may be free of a warning, but outside of that, we're from the Ohio River all the way up to Lake Erie. Been a while since we've had that situation happen. I will say the leading edge is starting to weaken just a little bit, and that does not surprise me at all. North side's still pretty strong, but you would think, boy, we're almost 10 o'clock now. We're encountering nighttime here. These storms can keep going, but as far as the veracity that we had earlier, that's likely going to putter out a little bit. That's the hope, that the cell that moves through eastern Ashtabula is going to be a lot weaker than the cell that moved through greater Cleveland a little while ago. It's not raining yet in Ashtabula County, but it's coming. Lake County, Madison, it's coming for you too. And what a night. They had a concert at Blossom. They had to delay the start of it. And then they went out and they did it, and more rain and storms came through as well. Let's go ahead and, let's do some tracking. Great idea. We're tracking this off to the east, Madison here at 10:01, so we're about 7-8 minutes from there. Geneva at 8 after 10, on into Andover, 10:23, Pierpont, 10:30, and then eventually Albion, that is in Pennsylvania, at 10:49. No worries there, that's off into Pennsylvania. So you can kind of see what's going on here. 10:45, largely the worst part of the storm should be out of the state, at least the northern part. Now the southern part may be a little bit delayed with that because it does kind of angle itself a little bit. And just to be clear, these storms are still producing 70-mile-per-hour winds and possible tornadoes. So that's why we're on the air right now, continuing our coverage at least until 10 o'clock. Then we'll start our newscast over on Cleveland's 43. But, these storms have meant business. We had that destructive thunderstorm tag for Cuyahoga that we really take seriously. We treat it as a tornado warning. In fact, in many cases, and I think as evidenced by the damage we'll likely see once we hit tomorrow morning, in many cases is worse than a tornado because it impacts a lot of people and it just doesn't drop down for, 30 seconds or a minute. It's there for a lot longer period of time. So those warnings are going to continue at least through 10:45. That's for Ashtabula County. Across the south, things are pretty rough too, Sam. Can we track that southern edge too? That's making its way through Middlefield and through Ravenna. Ravenna's just had 3 times storms moving through. Track this little leading edge here too if we could. Geauga, Lake, Mahoning, and Trumbull until 10 o'clock there as well. And this is basically now going into the Warren area, into portions of Mahoning County, into Trumbull County as well. We'll track this for you as it moves out of the 19 News viewing area. Let's bring on those cities right there. Warren, 10:02, Austintown, 10:15, onto the Youngstown area, 20 after, and then farther off to the east, that's out of the state there once we hit about 10:45, 11 o'clock. That's certainly good news for us. Heading down to the south, we'll continue this tour of these severe thunderstorms that are blowing through northern Ohio as we speak. No fun in Canton, down to Dover, a couple of little baby storms popping out ahead of it. So Portage, Stark, and Summit until 10:15. Carroll as well, Tuscarawas as well till about 10:15, 10:30 this evening. Let's go ahead and track this leading edge as it also moves east at about 45 miles per hour. Let's populate those cities for you just to give you a heads up. Louisville, 9:57, Carrollton, 10:10, and then on into Lisbon at 10:23, and then it moves far off to the east into portions of Pennsylvania. So there we have it. Excuse me, been a long night. There we have it, 9:56 here this evening. We've been tracking tornado warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings, 81 mile per hour wind gusts in Elyria earlier, and those storms are still rolling on as we speak this evening. Still 70 mile per hour winds possible and the possibility of tornadoes. So we're going to start our 10 o'clock newscast. We hope we don't have any more tornado warnings, okay? But the potential is still there between now and 10:30 for us to get one of these spin-ups to prompt a warning. If that happens, we'll of course be back on the air here on 19 as well as Cleveland's 43 here. So let me know, Control, if we're just going to keep rolling until the 10 o'clock or we take a break or whatever you want to do. I'm just I'm here for you. Rain showers, Cleveland to Mansfield, Medina. These are lighter rain showers. We have that red area. What is that? That's a flash flood warning. That's north of Akron. That's basically northern Summit County. Cuyahoga Valley National Park, Blossom Music Center. High water issues there. Thankfully, as we head off to the north and west, things are a little quieter as some more stable air comes in as this line continues to march through. And it is quite a line. I do expect it to weaken a little bit as it makes its way into eastern Ohio. Sam, anything to add here before we start our 10 o'clock news?
Just the good news of an overall weakening trend with these storms. The tornado threat gradually decreasing. This is data we're seeing, data coming in from the National Weather Service. And of course, it's, almost 10 o'clock at night. So that severe threat, we lose that daytime heating and instability. Still watching for some embedded rotation, but continuing with that trend of the northern portion of this line continuing to be the strongest portion of the line. So those storms coming into Madison and Ashtabula, if you're in Geneva, have to take that seriously because, again, these storms could be producing 70-mile-per-hour winds and still a tornado threat there. But back to the west, we're in the clear.
Yeah, good summary there. It's been quite a night here. Ashtabula is the last one to get hit. And that will happen here momentarily from about 10 to 10:45. Then, as Sam mentioned, things are weakening here off to the west. That is certainly good news, but you can still see those heavy rains right now moving through portions of Lake County all the way down in Geauga County too. And this line of rain and thunder making its way into western Ashtabula County as we speak. Greater Cleveland right now, things are quieting down for us here. Still some high water issues. That's really my primary concern now. I mean, obviously storm cleanup is going to be an issue, but also the high water issues left. Hudson, this area in red, that's northern Summit. That is that flash flood warning. Now, Cuyahoga is included in this. It's basically a little sliver of it, but you get the picture. Those low-lying, flood-prone areas are likely going to have issues with high water here for a good amount of time. Turn around, don't drown. Great advice. All right, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jason Nicholas for meteorologist Samantha Roberts and Jeff Slauson. We'll now start our 10 o'clock news. Stay safe tonight. We'll be back if we have to.
19 News starts now with a first alert for severe weather.
And we begin with a live look across Northeast Ohio via our 19 First Alert camera network. You've been watching us here on Cleveland's 43 with our severe weather coverage, and those storms continue to move through the area at this hour. And our 19 First Alert weather team, they've been there for it all. Thanks for joining us on this First Alert weather evening. I'm Chris Fry. Once again, Chief Meteorologist Jason Nicholas continues our coverage on the storms going through. Jason, we still not out of the woods quite yet, but although these storms have decreased in power, so to speak.
Yeah, they have. Thankfully, that is good news. Now, we'll tell the control room if we could have weather 2 on. There we go. Perfect. Since I'm over here, and we'll take a look at what's going on right now here across northern Ohio. We've been on the air for the better part of the evening due to not only tornado warnings, but also severe thunderstorm warnings here. So this is a live look right now at the worst of the weather. We have a flash flood warning again north of downtown Akron. And then look at this line going all the way from just outside of Ashtabula as you head all the way down into Warren and then back all the way farther south through Ravenna, Kent-Ravenna, down to Canton. We've got severe thunderstorm warnings. Let's just go ahead and break down the severe thunderstorm warnings right now, Sam. We'll start with the one up top. This is for Ashtabula County until 10:45. That Crawford and Erie, they're not our Crawford and Erie. That's out in Pennsylvania until 10:45. That's the first one as this rain is now moving into western Ashtabula County. Let's slide a little farther south and give you an updates on those warnings. Yeah, and good information here. Again, 70-mile-per-hour winds and tornado possible. Thank you for that reminder. Warren about to get slammed. This is off into Trumbull County and into Youngstown. That's Mahoning County as well. Still for Geauga Lake until 11 o'clock. Well, that's kind of, I mean, that's not really going to happen. So this Geauga and Lake is going to be a little bit sooner than that. And then down into Canton, Stark County under that warning. Carroll County's under that warning as well as Portage, that until 10:15. And then one more down through the Dover area, Tuscarawas County, as well as Carroll County. those warnings are in effect until 11 p.m. tonight, most likely 10:30, 11 o'clock tonight. A lot of rain has fallen tonight. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Thankfully, we're not seeing much in the way of any rotation at this point. Let's go ahead and take a look at that flash flood warning. That's really important. Mainly for northern Summit County, that goes until 12:30. Now, when you look at this, there's nothing magical about county borders. We had a lot of heavy rain in Medina County. We had a lot of heavy rain here into Portage and Geauga County. So really, it's the flash flood warning here for most likely some flooding that's taken place there in the valley and in and around the Hudson area for high water issues. So that flood warning goes until 12:30 through the overnight hours. And outside of that, there's our big main line. Orwell's up next, Warren's up next. Look at the heavy rain in and around the Chardon area and back all the way down into Ravenna as well. So these showers and thunderstorms certainly mean business, even some hail possibly there in and around Canton as well. We'll continue to track these for you. And hey, guess what? We're going to take a look at a forecast too. We haven't done much forecasting tonight, but I want to get the forecast to you. I just need a break to get over to my weather computer to call it up. We'll have more on that coming up here, Chris, in just a bit.
All right, Jason, take a breather. We'll take it over from here, and we continue our team coverage tonight. We are tracking over 62,000 customers without power from these storms. Jeff Slauson, he's at the big board right now, working hard tonight and getting some last-minute numbers for us right now. Give you a second. I know we've had a lot of calls in about power outages from Lorain to Cuyahoga and probably more to come through Lake County as well. What are the updated numbers now?
We're somewhat flatlining in some areas that are like further west, almost out of our viewing area. But what we were seeing the increases is basically the entire area around the Northeast Ohio region. I got to give it a refresh here. I'm trying to look at it on like 5 different devices, so I apologize to look at my phone on air because you see this updates as we go. So actually we got to update this on air. So let's do that together here. So we actually just saw the update on this. The outage is currently sitting at 73,000 now. So this is a fairly significant amount. We don't consider it a large amount when it's hovering around 2, 3, 4, 5,000 potentially. That's a massive update here. This number here actually going up to 19,000 outages, as well as in, let's see, Lorain County still hovering at about 9.5. So Cuyahoga County right now is getting hammered as far as the outages that we are seeing. Anywhere that you see in this yellow, which is basically, like our entire area, that's not necessarily good because that shows you that it is more than a couple thousand outages. So right now, as we've seen the storm kind of go through, that's where we were seeing these outages as well. Now, we used to have control over being able to see how long these outages can last. That has been taken away from us from First Energy. So we don't actually know when you might get power back. But if you're in Cuyahoga County and your power has gone out, not only are you not alone, we are expecting far more to actually get to that point. Now, I want to hit on a couple of things here before we go. Just some footage that we have seen, things like that. This one's pretty incredible. This one is courtesy of Reynoldsburg. There we go. They're out of Reynoldsburg, I believe. This shows you just kind of the massive nature of everything that we've been looking at. And obviously, if you're going to be taking these photos, do it from a secure location here. This is North Ridgeville, courtesy of our assistant news director here at 19 News. Very concerning for a lot of folks. This was out of the Findlay Police Department. Yeah, that's the cave-in of the roof. This is what we talk about when the damage can be something that you're not necessarily that aware of. It can happen at any time. And when it does happen, it can be incredibly scary. This one right here, you can see that's the cyclone kind of forming from that spot as well. Now, for those that are familiar and for those that have seen what's been going on at Blossom, this was sent to us currently of Michael Keefe. There we go. This is at the Pavilion in Blossom. So for those that were there when they canceled the concert, some were able to get back to their cars. Those that were at the Pavilion did not have the chance. So they had to stay under the Pavilion during these warnings as they were waiting for everything to kind of clear out. And that's what it looked like in its entirety. Now, I want to go back to the outage map because there is a chance that it actually has updated since we last spoke. Nope, it has stayed there. So still hovering at 73,000 outages. But again, as we were looking at this, this is customers, not individual people. That means that there are potentially more people affected by this. So if you do have power right now, I would highly suggest getting some of your stuff that's going to be able to help you see in case you lose any power. And as you see, we're getting the outages this way. We have sent a crew that way as well. They are heading west. We will have an update on the conditions there. Any outages, any sort of damage, you'll be able to see as soon as they get there and get everything up and running.
All right, Jeff Slauson, thanks a lot. Take a breather. We'll check in with you later on. In the meantime, we're tracking storms, of course, tonight. But behind this storm system, a lot of heat. And the city of Akron trying to work ahead of the heat, opening up a cooling center. The city extending hours at Summit Lake Community Center Sunday through Tuesday. It will be open from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m. Breaking Browns news tonight concerning rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders. And it's not for his big-time arm on the football field, but rather his lead foot on the interstate. Michelle Nix has the story.
Rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders could be just what the Browns need this football season. But it's Sanders' need for speed off the field that has him temporarily sidelined with a speeding ticket.
It's out of Colorado.
Police pulled Sanders over in a Dodge Ram for traveling 101 miles per hour in a 60-mile-per-hour zone, along with a female friend in a separate car that was following him.
Got you 101 miles an hour. You have your license, proof of insurance on you? Yeah, I got her at 92. Do you have an Ohio driver's license? Okay, what's your first name? Shedeur.
That female friend seemed to question if their speeds were accurate.
No doubt about it, I have a dash camera in my car. You were flying, you're going past every car.
As the Strongsville officer runs a check on the license plates, he tells his supervisor exactly who has been pulled over.
Deion Sanders' kid.
Oh, is that Shedeur?
Yeah. 101.
Oh, yeah. Is his dad driving in front of him?
No, it's his girlfriend.
The officer even comments about Shedeur's demeanor.
Yeah, he's been real cool.
As the officer writes the Browns rookie quarterback a speeding ticket, he decides to cut him a little slack.
Oh, I'm gonna cut you a break. I'm not gonna give her a ticket. Like I said, I got her at 92, but 101, I got a dash cam and stuff, man.
Browns fans hearing about Shedeur's traffic trouble say they want to see him thrive in Cleveland, so they have some advice.
It's a safety concern, and hopefully, you know, from going forward, he learns from this and just move on.
Can't tell him how to live his life, but he already has a target on his back, I'm sure. So with that, knowing that, I feel as if you got to be kind of careful. Now that this is his team, you know, he represents obviously himself and his family, but hopefully all of the off-field things don't get in the way of what's going on the field.
But Shedeur is still apparently trying to navigate his status as a Cleveland Brown, and his fans just want him to slow down and keep his eye on the ball. Reporting in Cleveland, Michelle Nix, 19 News.
Take a look at your screen. These 8 people now facing charges for helping an accused cop shooter hide. Devontae Dixon was wanted for shooting 2 Mifflin Township police officers last month. Both officers went to the hospital. One has since been released. The other still in the hospital and expected to recover. Dixon was on the run for 3 days, and police say these 8 helped him during that time period. During a standoff, Dixon shot himself in the face and is recovering, but he does face several charges. Ohio Republican lawmakers introducing a bill that would ban almost all abortions and make it a crime to have one. The Ohio Prenatal Equal Protection Act would overturn an amendment to the state constitution. Passed by voters in 2023, that amendment allows for an individual right to reproductive medical treatment, including abortions. Currently, abortion is allowed in Ohio for up to 20 weeks. A former high school athletic trainer now going to prison. Prosecutors say he took advantage of his job title, and the judge that sentenced him, well, he had some choice words.
You didn't know that you couldn't send naked pictures of your genitalia to a student at a school where you're employed? You didn't know that?
Well, the judge sentenced Ryan Gonauer to 3 years in prison. He was a former contracted university school athletic trainer. Prosecutors say he was having inappropriate contact with students. Gonauer apologized to the victims and their families, but his remorse did not convince the judge that he's changed.
I would ask the court to consider that I've lost my license, my livelihood, and my reputation. I've been on the news 3 times now.
You're not thinking about them. You only get saddened and emotional when you think about the impact that this has had on you.
Gonauer will now have to register as a Tier 1 sex offender. New details on the man shot outside Angie's Soul Cafe yesterday. 34-year-old Patrick Carner was killed in the parking lot outside the Cleveland restaurant. And we just learned he served time in connection to the death of his pregnant ex-girlfriend. Vanasha Atkins died after falling